Hi, good. How is everybody? Sorry.
Good, how are you?
Thank you. How are you?
Good, good. Sorry, I just need to start that. Okay. I wanted to ask Sarah about your character, and we're really seeing her strengths coming through and her skepticism in the first season, but now she's starting to form alliances. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think one of the most exciting things about this season was charting how Leah, there's a very clear, I think, build up to her suspicions in season 1, and season 2 she meets certain obstacles that I think make her recalibrate how she is dealing with the conspiracy theories she has, and figuring out how she I think sort of self-soothes in a way throughout the rest of the season, but still maintaining the arc to get to where she is when we see her the first day in season 1 in the post-rescue. There's definitely a change, I think, and there's like far more layers to Leah as there are to all of these characters, as with the boys that were introduced to this season. There's far more than meets the eye, and there were surprises that Leah had that I was not expecting, and how she begins to cope with things this season. But her theories are never far off, no matter how tempered they may seem.
Lauren from Australia.
Yeah, hi guys. I was just wondering, The Wilds has been a fairly female-focused show up until this point. How did adding all those new male characters change up that dynamic?
I would say that the show still does have a female focus, even with the male characters coming on. I think it helps, the male characters coming on helps kind of understand what, I think a little bit more of what season 1 is and what the female experience is, while also kind of understanding why males are society-wise like the way that they have been through the experiences that they have, and why then it impacts women. So I think that there's still a very strong female presence on the show, and having the guys, interestingly enough, helps tell that story a bit more as well.
Thea from Philadelphia Tribune.
Hi, Kathia Woods. My question is, how do you think you guys' relationship has changed from season 1 to season 2? We see that even though you start off as polar opposites and fighting for position, that you're learning that working together works within your interests, even when you have doubts. And do you feel like that is the strength of the women? They're a little bit better about working together and understanding, like, hey, it's about accomplishing the mission, not about who likes who and what is what. And we can start with you, Rain, please.
I'd say that specifically between Leah and Rachel, we've kind of been talking about throughout the day that there is these two characters that are very extreme. They have these two different types of extreme, but that ultimately connects them in the sense of they learn that that's a way that they can actually bond, is that they both react in very intense ways to different things. And then as far as all of the girls on the island, I think they're all just kind of dealing with the trauma of being on an island together, but allowing themselves to have the human experience within that. And I think that that's really, really cool.
What about you, Sarah?
Yeah, I think so much of the tension in season 1 came from each character sort of having their moment, and that because it's unfamiliar, because it's new to this group of girls who did not decide to be put on this island together, they had to figure out how they would deal with that, along with learning how to survive on this island. I think in season 2 that becomes, although it's still survival, a slightly more manageable task, and the idea of someone spinning out is not as rocking or terrifying. Obviously there's different degrees of that, but I think they built a stronger web so when that happens, it doesn't rock the boat necessarily as much as it did the first season. Yeah, I think they've all had a chance to realize that just as much as they are different, they also have a lot of similarities, and their differences and similarities are what makes them strong as a group and ultimately helps them survive.
Jamie from Sci-Fi Vision.
Hello, thank you for talking to us today. So both of your characters go to some dark places emotionally this season. Can you both talk a bit about sort of connecting with those emotional parts, and was it hard to kind of step away from that after Sarah, then Rain?
Yeah, I think it's always, I mean, your body, when you experience an emotion, whether or not you're acting, your body doesn't know that you're acting. So there were certainly some long days and some hard days. But you know, the storytelling and the writing is so strong in the series that I feel like does so much of the work for you. It really is just trusting it and hoping that you're ready to be in that place, and ready to be on the other side of it when you come out of it. Yeah, I think it's just sort of really taking in everything that this character has experienced, and it's so, everything these girls and boys are experiencing is so overwhelming. So when you really just sit and think about it, I think it's not that hard to feel empathy for these characters and embody that emotion.
Yeah, I would say like she said, your body does remember, it doesn't really know that you're acting or not. So I think what is also really incredible is that we have cast and crew that really respects everybody's process. Whenever we know that someone has a big emotional day coming up, everybody kind of goes along with whatever that person needs. And so it really helps us to go through our processes to ease in and out of these emotional places, because whether we're building that up for ourselves, for the character, or from reading what the character has, or just something that we've personally experienced, it's still a real emotion that we are conveying. And it's definitely a lot of a lot of work.
All right, thank you. Congratulations on a fantastic season.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Megan.
Hi, ladies. Was there something this season that really surprised you, that you learned about your character now that, you know, you guys have played them for now 2 seasons, but we've only seen 1?
I was surprised by Leah's, she has some comedic moments, which I wasn't expecting as much.
I was gonna say that for Rachel too. Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice to see that written and be able to explore that.
Yeah, Rachel and Leo together have some very comedic moments, which I think was really cool for us to both experience.
Thank you.
Geg.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations, ladies, for a successful second season. But after doing this show for 2 seasons, I mean, I'm curious, and honestly, are you sick of that beach life, or is it the lack?
I'd say, well, I see second season, we didn't have it as bad as like first season. First season, we were on the beaches of New Zealand, on the West Coast beaches, which are a lot more rough. I think we got a pretty nice second season.
Yeah, we had like shade.
Yeah.
Yeah, the second season was like a walk in the park.
Yeah.
So that's what we had to do in the first season. But life's a beach. So.
Thank you.
Sonia.
I was curious about, I know the show really talks a lot about all the various issues that young people face with identity crisis and struggling with their identity and things like that. One of the topics that I found really interesting and very current is Rachel and women in sports and the expectations that are placed on young women today. Can you talk a little bit about that and what you've learned about that?
Oh yeah. It was so interesting after season 1. I got so many messages from younger people that were the teen athletes, and especially young Black women that were teen athletes, and how when our body changes, it's not always accepted in the sport. And it is traumatizing. You know, it's like we can't help how our bodies end up forming. That's all genetics and things like that. So to have that experience, there were a lot of people that messaged me connecting to Rachel's eating disorder and the trauma of wanting something so badly and your body's just changing and you can't help it, and trying to do whatever you can, and not necessarily the healthiest way. I was very honored to be able to bring that story to life for a lot of people. And the person that helped me create that for Rachel is one of my closest friends. She actually has the same eating disorder as Rachel. So I was able to talk with her and work with her through a lot of it and what different things meant and implied and just the mindset of it. And I'm just glad that I was able to do it justice.
Lauren?
Yes, so season 2 was filmed here in Australia. I was just wondering whether you had any chances to like check out any of the local sites, or if you had like a favorite experience while you were filming here.
I loved Stratty. I love going to Stradbroke Island and seeing all the whales and all the koalas, the kangaroos jumping around. And I loved Brizzy. I loved going to Brisbane. That was pretty nice.
I got lucky and could extend my stay in Australia because I knew if COVID, the borders were still quite staunch while we were there. So I extended my trip for a bit and took a 6,500 kilometer road trip down from Darwin to Uluru and back again, and saw, just like, it's such an amazing, beautiful country with, so much history, and just saw incredible things that I just feel transported back to them when I think about them. It was one of the best trips I've ever taken, and felt very lucky to be able to be in Australia and spend a significant amount of time in that country.
Amazing people there too. Everybody was so sweet and so nice.
Kathia?
One of the things, I think one of the strengths that the show, even though it does it in a very kind of like dark, convoluted way, is to show that that you should try to make friends. You should try to get to know people out of your comfort zone. And that, that a lot of perceptions that we have about one another are really not true. Do you find that a lot of young people are getting that message of it? Even though like you're having conflicts and it's a very heinous environment, but at the end of the day, it is kind of like saying to people, you should not necessarily just live in your little bubble. You should try to connect with people that are different, not only because your survival depends on it, but just for the greater good. What do you say about that, Sarah?
I think we're, in particular, young people are so connected because of the internet. And I think there have been some really beautiful things that have come out of that. At the same time, in terms of judgment, I've always been taught that like what you judge in someone else is usually what you see in yourself. And I think in that same space, in the internet space, because of the profiles we have, it's really easy to come up with an idea. When I got this job, of course, I've been stalking all of the girls on Instagram and like coming up with these ideas of, oh, how should I be myself around this person and this person, this person, and you get there and they're, they just look like the photos. They're totally different from what you thought they would be. So I think it's, it's like sort of self-preservation and self-defense. And it's easy to go to because we don't want to get hurt. But I hope people get the message that it's, at least try to listen. There are definitely people that should not be listened to, but I think the majority of the time, give them 5 minutes and see if they can change your mind.
What about you, Rain?
I hope that they get the message, because I think, especially in a time where there's so much going on in the world and everybody's just battling opinions, and I think it's important to remember that we're all human and we all just want to like live life, and we all just need some love. And I hope that through seeing these teens in this extreme environment have to learn to become friends with people they never would have, maybe if they were back off the island, but these people end up being like people they'll probably love and be with for the rest of their life. I think that's a very powerful message. And I hope they get it.
Jamie?
This kind of continues from that, but obviously the island is crazy. But what positives do you think your characters take after being on the island for so long that they take with them?
I would say that Rachel kind of learns to let life happen. I think she was so caught up in being strategic and trying to plan everything out because that's what she did in diving. And when all of that was kind of taken away from her, and then she's on this island and even more things are being presented to her that she never would have thought she would have ever encountered. I think in a very abrupt and dramatic way, she's learned to let life happen. But I think it's also very helpful to be like, you know, I'm going to be miserable if I'm always trying to make life happen in a certain way.
All right, Sarah?
I think Leah understands the power of her own mind, and I think just in general, she grows up a whole lot from her backstory in season 1. She's just dealing with a lot of things for the first time. And like all the girls, she sort of gets a crash course in life and really unpacking these feelings that she's just experienced. And I think she comes out on the other side with a lot more power, knowing herself a lot better, and she can use that to her advantage. Yeah, she's just much more of an adult. I think taking less of a it's not that she was taking a backseat in her life, but just she has more tenacity towards life, I think. Yeah, understands how it works a little better than she did at 16.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Megan?
What are you guys hoping fans get from this season?
Rain, do you want to go first?
Oh.
You want me to go?
I think something I always hope people take away from any project that I'm a part of is just the humanity of people. And I especially think to take away the humanity of these kids and kind of apply that to their everyday experience. We're all just trying and learning. And I think there's also so much pressure on kids as well to have everything figured out and to be this perfectionist at times. And we don't have it all figured out. Even when you get older, you're not going to have it all figured out, but life is going to happen and flow. And there's some really beautiful moments that come from not even knowing what's going to happen. So I do hope that that is taken away from the show.
I hope fans walk away with a feeling of being just super satisfied and entertained and enthralled and heartbroken and just is so invested in it, and you know, maybe wanting more or wanting to watch it again. Yeah, I just want it, like it's so fun to get wrapped up in something. And yeah, I just hope they get wrapped up in it and a little lost for a bit and like wish they didn't watch it so fast.
Thank you.
And Gig, this will be the last question.
Great. I love the second season because there is a clear difference between men and women as right now as the only guy in the Zoom room. My question tend to be non-serious, but for both of you, since day one in the first season, we see the transformation of facial makeup for both of you. I want to know is when you go through that makeup chair and go through those blisters or the skin peeling, what is your reaction as you transform from day one of the first season to all the way to the end of the second season? Is this a surprise for you, or do you basically say, I love to get this off of me?
I think you definitely, I mean, at the end of the day, you definitely want to get it off. But I think something, I don't know if you found this, Sarah, but I tended to find that I would forget I had it on in regards to other people seeing me with it on. So I'd completely forget that I look very different on set than I do offset. And sometimes like scaring people with your appearance because you're so roughed up. but yeah, I think you also end up just kind of getting used to it after a bit, but you're wondering why your face is itchy or like something doesn't feel right. And then you're like, oh yeah, I have all this stuff on my face.
Yeah, I loved peeling at the liquid latex.
You and Edna did that a lot.
Yeah, it's just so satisfying. I feel like I feel like it gave me a lot of freedom because I don't know, as a woman and then as a woman in the industry, there's a lot of lookism and pressure to look a certain way, and getting sunburnt and peely and you're greasy and gross and dirty, and it just sort of, I don't know, maybe it helped me hide behind my own insecurities of like, oh, I don't like how I look today. But then it just was such a great distraction. It's like my skin is peeling and I have a sunburn, and, I'm not supposed to look great. So, and these characters aren't feeling that as well. I found it like liberating, and it just made me not think about what I looked like, so I could figure out what I wanted to feel, I think, and what I would want the audience to take away from those moments. But I feel like I could really do some good effects makeup after this show now. Just watching it in front of my face every day.
Well said. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.